All right, so we should be recording now. So again, I'm Jennifer, and I am a mental health clinician for the district. I'm also the coordinator of school-based mental health services for the district. And I really want you to know that I sincerely appreciate what teachers do. My husband is a retired teacher. I had no idea how demanding a job you all have until I started to work here. And I had to dish out quite a few apologies to my husband and to other people when I came to work for the district to see how tough a job this really is. So I just want you to know I appreciate you, and I just don't know how you do what you do, and I mean that from my heart. So again, this time is about you. There's no rights and wrongs, and so I'm really hoping that you can think about for yourself what you're hoping to get out of today. There are no rights and wrongs, and I do love those share outs. This is really your time. And again, with the past couple of years, it has been super duper rough. We've had the social distress, the politics, environmental catastrophes, the pandemic, and we've just lost many of the safe places that we like to go and we have taken for granted. So, and on here, I will again be monitoring the chat as best I can. And just like you guys didn't quite sign up to be technological junkies, we've all been forced to do that with the pandemic. So please don't judge my technology skills, okay? There's a gray rectangle over my screen. Thank you for sharing that with me. I'm gonna reduce that. All right. In the chat, can you let me know if that's gone? Because I can't see if I get a thumbs up. I had to basically minimize everybody's pictures. Is that gray rectangle gone? Say yes in the chat, please. Okay, thank you so much. All right. So like I asked, what do you hope to get out of today? What do you hope to gain today? I love word bubbles. I'm kind of a nerd with this. So you can either scan this QR code by holding your camera up on the phone up to the code on the screen, and it will link you to this website where you can put the information in. And otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and stop share this, and then I'm going to open up the website, and there's a code that you can also put into your phone in order to join us in this poll. And I just like this information. It really helps me to know what people are coming here for, and also to hopefully cater this to what you would like to leave with. So let me go ahead and share that screen for you. I have so many screens on here. Oops, I have to leave this one. I apologize. Uh-oh, Jennifer has a boo-boo. This is not the right screen that I pulled up this morning. Let me see if I can get us back to the correct screen. Oh no, this is the correct one. You guys are already in it. What was I thinking? Wow, you guys are fast. Okay, so you can see that there's a code. You don't have to use your phone for this. You can do this on your computer. Go to menti.com and use the code 93225208. Okay. All right, you guys got that? All right, so some new ideas to put me in a better headspace: balance, knowledge, peace of mind, practices to help myself make it through this school year. It's a struggle sometimes. You know what? We are only in October, you guys, and this is like a common theme for everybody, regardless of your discipline, your role, your profession. This has been a common theme, and it's only October. Hope, a break. How to help serve my LGBTQ students more. I have a welcoming classroom, but I want more, feel like I'm not doing enough. ways to balance work with time for family and me time, stress management techniques, hoping to get some tips. Yes, I hope that I have some helpful information for you. I have lots of like real stories too. So I think that the relatable part of that will hopefully help. I would like to gain a better understanding of stress management techniques. Great. What I can do for myself, how to take care of me, some tips for your students. Yes, this is across the board, ways to lower stress. Give a couple more seconds here. That's okay, Alyssa. This is all useful for everybody. So I want you to know, I'm going to tell you guys that this information that is being shared, this is information that is for everybody. It doesn't matter if you are a teacher, if you are a student, if you are in the military, if you are a police officer, if you are a business manager, an accountant. This information is actually universal. So I think that a lot of people don't understand that it isn't just a, this is for what a mental health clinician would do, and this is what a student would do. This is actually kind of one size fits all for everybody. So how to prioritize, too much to do. Okay, we are totally talking about that today as well. So I really hope that this kind of meets your guys' needs. All right. So let me stop sharing that. And so I can see all of you guys. So thank you so much for that information. I really appreciate the input. Again, this helps me to calibrate where I'm going today. It also helps for the future as well. So I do take this feedback and I implement it and integrate it into other meetings and other trainings. But like I said, I think it's really important to know that this information, whether it's catering to you or whether I'm catering to the Department of Public Safety or another group, it really is the same information. It's just given in a different way because different people, different groups of people hear things in a different way, but it's the same no matter who you are or where you are. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen again. Sorry for all my back and forthness. I know I do a little bit too much of that. It's just the easiest way for me to stay on track. So what is wellness? It's the practice of healthy habits to attain better physical and mental health outcomes. We think about, is it surviving or thriving? So in survival mode, those heightened defenses limit our accesses to healthy resources. We really don't have the time to plan. And so we are just making choices and making decisions right on the cuff. And we're not really making very future-oriented decisions and choices. So think about those days when you're on the go and you really are trying to stick to a more healthy routine, but you just didn't have the time or the opportunity to plan for what you were going to eat today. Being able to be in a prioritized mode and thriving mode actually helps you to make better plans. And you're also able to adapt and to create in those heightened senses of survival. So the goal here is to hopefully be able to be in a thriving mode, but even when you're thrown into those situations where you're not able to plan as well, you're able to adapt, you're able to create. So we're really going to be focusing on your personal time. And in survival mode, again, we limit our accesses to resources, we become more reactive, we can become more impulsive. But when we're thriving, we are in the here and the now. We're able to do that planning I was talking about. We have increased access to resources because we have more knowledge of what is around us because we've been able to take the time to create those resources around us and surround ourselves. And we're able to be more creative and we're able to be more thoughtful. So, and that's really a result of having more of that time and the resources in order to be creative and thoughtful. So we think about that constant survival mode. And in constant survival mode, what happens is we can have a loss of empathy. So we can have a loss of ability to relate to the people around us, to relate to our own family members, to relate to our students. This happens sometimes in emergency rooms where the people are just trying to get through the day. I've had recent experience with this, so I can really relate to it. They're just trying to get the patient stabilized and not necessarily have the understanding or that bedside manner for the family and whatnot. So we have a loss of hope and ability to help other people. So during that compassion fatigue, if we continue to stay in that for extended periods of time, that can lead to burnout. And so burnout is that extended period of stress that feels like it just cannot be fixed. There's emotional exhaustion, the mental exhaustion, the physical exhaustion, and burnout is ultimately what leads us to leaving our jobs. It leads to people quitting their jobs because they just don't know how they can get back to the motivation and the thriving that they may have experienced when they first started in that job. So again, another word bubble. So I really want to know what prevents you from practicing self-care. And for some people, it's just not even knowing what it is, or it may not even be knowing that that's what you're already doing, right? So what prevents you from practicing self-care? And I'll go ahead and put that screen up for you. Somebody's already putting in the chat, no time. I hear that, and I'm going to speak to that as well today. So, oh, darn it, I keep forgetting I have to escape this. All right, so again, the code is right up there. Then menti.com, use the code 93225208. I think there might be some weird experience where if you do the QR code, it'll take you to the first survey. I'm not sure why it does that. It might be the way that I set it up. So please go ahead and go to menti.com. No time. Time is like the serious common answer. It's the common theme. Feeling overwhelmed, feeling guilt. Oh, we're going to tackle that next. We are tackling that next.
I'm so sorry, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Your controller actually is cutting off the parts that I needed to read some of the things on your screen.
I am so sorry. Can you see that now?
Well, it's the black controller that says mute. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I am so sorry. Thanks for telling me. All right. Good luck. So, oh, childcare, low or no will, and feeling exhausted. Yeah. Really never had to. I love that answer, and I'm going to tell you why. Yes, I can relate to that as well. Parenting, work, other responsibilities. Not knowing how, not knowing what it is. This is exactly why we're here. Focusing on the work and the student, which is, it's a 24/7 job. It's just a 24/7 job because your students are in your brains all the time. All right, a couple more. Health. We're going to tackle a little bit of that. Sacrifice. Oh my gosh, you guys are speaking, you're speaking the language of why we're here today. I really appreciate this. All right, I'm going to exit us out of this, and I'm going to get us on our way to what we're talking about, what prevents us from practicing and how we can get past this, okay? So I really appreciate all of the input here. Responsibilities. If I can get this to, there we go. All right, can somebody say in the chat if you can see ghost your guilt? Thank you, Rita. Yes, great. Okay, so we had a good transition there. Thank you so much. All right, so we have all of these perceptions about self-care, that it is indulgent, that it's unnecessary, that it's selfish or needy, expensive, or that we have no time. right? We've seen all of these, we've experienced all of these for those of us that have kind of been down this road before. But what we know is that it's actually a basic human need. It's not indulgent and it isn't unnecessary. Sometimes people fear that they are seen as selfish or needy, but consider the reality that people are able to take care of themselves are actually more independent and more able to care for others. When you don't know how to care for yourself, you kind of become the person that is needy, or you expect other people to care for you. And this just doesn't really work out well in the long run. And it typically does result in frustration and loneliness. So kind of keep that in mind too. So the other thing is that people think that it's expensive or that it takes up too much time. It just really isn't a pricey vacation or a wardrobe or a makeover. It's actually more of a daily practice that's just part of your life, which really fulfills you. So we'll get into more of that later. And then the no time piece, that's a huge component of why people don't practice self-care. And I challenge you to kind of keep a log of how you spend your day for 3 to 5 days. And this is a challenge just for you to see where you have the time that may be taken up with components that aren't helping you or aren't supporting your needs. So include those basic chores, driving time, cooking, bathing, whatever it is, include all those minutes of the day. And then upon the review, pay attention to those opportunities that you may have missed to take a moment to yourself. And remember that taking that moment to yourself, it is not selfish, it really is essential. Okay, so just keep that log, just like you do for those food diaries, to see what you're putting in your body every day. See where you're spending your time on a daily basis. It's really easy to lose track. And then think about what's more important for you in terms of prioritizing your time. So the goals of being wellness informed are obviously a healthy outside starts from the inside. Being emotionally healthy gives us insight and awareness into ourselves, into others. Healthy relationships, they help us define safety. It helps us to define limits. It helps us to decide, is this person contributing to my safety? Are they contributing to my overall health? And it helps you to decide how much time you want that individual to be in your life, or how much you want to be a part of their life. It also helps us to keep in tune and aware of our body and our needs with our body and our mind. And then again, this is where we're going with this, is that we can establish and use tools to have healthy coping with experiences that we aren't expecting, with those not so wonderful surprises that a lot of us have been having lately. In front of the computer, this is where the time is taken. I think a lot of it is there, Rita, just like we're doing this today. And I think a lot of that is spent in different ways. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. So remember that self-care is intentional and it nurtures your well-being. There's a thoughtfulness behind our practices. And I'm going to touch on that in just a second. It's not just what you can fit into your schedule, but really sometimes it is. And it is a priority for us. So like I said, I have lots of stories. And the first thing that I'm going to say is that I went to a training, and the trainer talked a lot about self-care for us, and it was off the cuff. And one of the things that she had mentioned was that it has to be intentional. Like you have to have it planned and I have to have it scheduled in the day. And I'm like somebody mentioned, it's just what I do on a daily practice. It isn't something that I'm necessarily always thinking about. And when she said that, I felt really bad. I felt like, well, I'm doing this wrong. So I took some time, like a couple of weeks, to reflect on this. Like, how am I doing this wrong? And I have to tell you, it felt like a gotcha moment, because I wasn't doing it wrong. My way of really taking care of myself is really being physically active, being outdoors, doing physical labor. And that is really what makes me me. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I can get my brain back together, and like I've been productive in the day. And I have to tell you that these past couple months, that just hasn't been able to happen for me. There's been a number of health issues within my family, and I have to help them and take care of them. And so that time for me has not been readily available. And I have felt pretty badly about that. And I was like, oh, I don't do this, I don't do that. These things, being physical, being outdoorsy, the things that I love, and to get my mind off of everything else. And so over the past couple of months, I've literally had to start practicing mindfulness, which hasn't always been something I've had to do. I've never had to do that. But I'm grateful that I know the skills and that I know a little bit about it. Now I know a lot about it. But there's also tons of resources on the internet to help you practice mindfulness or practice skills that work for you. So there may be a time in your life where you've never really had to think about it, but then it hits you and you're like, I'm not doing the things that make me me. And so I'm hoping that you walk away from this meeting today with some tools in your back pocket that you can say, it's okay that I'm not doing this for the past couple of months. I have other priorities I need to attend to. And that's part of that, being able to thrive and adapt and be able to create meanings and ways to take care of yourself while you may be prioritizing the time that you take care of other people. I love this quote. The warmth with which one relates to oneself is a self-related process that affects self-regulation and behavior. So this really causes us to think about how we identify with ourselves and how this affects our interactions with others and our ability to manage our reactions and our relationships. So I really think about, people that react to situations in a critical manner very frequently. And I think this is really more about you, or this is really more about that person and what's going on with them. How do we reframe this information? So I just think this quote hits home on so many levels. And this is where we get into positively powerful self-affirmations. I know that we've seen the funny stuff on Saturday Night Live, if you're old enough to remember the great Saturday Night Live skits of positive affirmations and looking in the mirror and whatnot. But this is just a skill. There's other ways to do this, but the truth is, and there's a science behind this, is that regular repetition of affirming statements about yourself can encourage your brain to take these positive affirmations as fact. When you truly believe you can do something, your actions often follow. So, and I actually do a little bit of this. I will write little things on my mirror with a dry erase marker. And those little statements or whatnot is something that I'm looking at for like a week, just because it's positive and it kind of helps you get it going in the morning. And it may sound a little bit nerdy or whatever, but whatever works, right? We're looking for whatever works for us because we are definitely all different. So there's that balance that we were talking about, that balance of self-care, that balance of wellness. Whether you are an educator, a spouse, a gardener, a hiker, whatever it is that you enjoy, pulling all of those things together. And like I said earlier, it's not necessarily all going to be available to you all the time. What you're used to may not be there all the time, but that's okay. That's what this is about, is having other things that you can access to help you keep going when what you're used to doing or what you like to do isn't there. And it sadly, it does happen. So right now, I would like for us to be able to practice a moment of something that I do pretty regularly, probably lately, almost every day. And this just takes a minute. So this is called balloon belly breathing. It's super duper simple. And this is visual and physical. And so the visual piece of this is when you feel yourself getting kind of into a rut, or struggling to get your brain to focus on whatever is in front of you, whether it is cleaning the bathroom, but then you get into the kitchen and you get distracted with the dishes because you want to go back to the bathroom and sort out this makeup drawer or the toiletry drawer, thinking about, oh my gosh, why am I so distracted? And so then this is kind of a grounding technique. So this just takes this, you can do this for 3 minutes. I usually do it for like 1 minute. So we're going to take about 1 minute right now. So just taking a deep, deep breath. You can keep your eyes open. You can keep your eyes closed, whatever you're comfortable with. So we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And you're going to visualize this, your favorite color. So your favorite color. And what happens is you're going to inhale this favorite color that makes you happy deep into that belly, like you're blowing up a balloon in your belly. And that balloon in your belly is full of that yucky color. I imagine that yucky color, if you celebrate Easter, it's the color of all the colors that you put together after you're dyeing the eggs. And it looks kind of like that purpley, browny, gray color. So you're going to exhale that out of your belly. And then you're going to inhale that favorite color. Again, for me, it happens to be yellow. And then exhale the yuckiness. And with that yuckiness, all that negativity, all the confusion, all of the distraction is released and let go. And you do this for however many times you need to maybe get your brain on track to what you're wanting to do. Okay. I do this a lot because I'm very easily distracted. I am just like my mom. And I can be all over the place and get absolutely nothing done. So, and I see some head nodding for the people. So it's just called belly breathing or color breathing. And it's inhaling that favorite thing. Maybe it's that favorite smell, and exhaling the negativity. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that with me. All right. Can I see in the chat that you can still see balance? Because I can't see faces, otherwise I block your view. So I don't want to block your view. Anybody in the chat, let me know yes or no. You can see my screen that says balance. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your help. I really do appreciate all of your help. Okay, so moving on. So part of this is just being able to unplug, enjoy those leisure activities. And what we know from being able to be mindful or practice self-care is that physically, this literally does lower blood pressure, stress, symptoms of depression. It increases our physical function because the mind and the body are connected. It increases our job satisfaction and absolutely our overall personal life satisfaction. This is a really big piece of important information for our law enforcement that I like to share because our law enforcement, as you know, have very stressful, high stress jobs. It's a different kind of stress. But there's a lot of disease that comes along with having that high level of stress every single day, expecting it basically at your job. Teachers are not that different. Being able to manage a classroom of whatever age student it is that you're managing, it is every single day walking into that and sometimes not knowing what to expect or not knowing what to expect every single day, especially in Stockton. I think it brings a lot of that stress for you. So obviously we start with ourselves, giving ourselves permission to make self-care a priority, right? You're able to listen to what you need. You're able to validate what it is that you need without feeling guilty, and being able to reframe some of the things, some of the negative talk that pops into our brain when we really least need that negative talk. So then we go into identifying protective factors. A lot of folks don't know what protective factors are. They are the qualities that are associated with a lower likelihood of negative outcomes, and they reduce a risk factor's impact. So risk factors are circumstances that are associated with higher likelihood of negative outcomes. So they really look like a lot of what our students live in are a lot of the risk factors in Stockton Unified and in the community. So, and because we are constantly exposed to that as well, there's that vicarious piece of the vicarious stressors that we also take on as we see it in the community that we serve. It looks like the poor nutrition, unsafe households, community violence, poverty. So those are vicarious situations that we take on that we may not even live in, but our students are living in it all the time, or family members are living in it all the time. So when we can identify our own protective factors, or for your students, you're able to identify their protective factors, knowing what you have in your back pocket or what is protecting you promotes that social competency, the emotional wellness. It actually can help you decrease your exposure to risks and hazards because you're able to identify risks and hazards. And it promotes that resiliency, that ability to bounce back from negative situations. And it increases our ability to thrive in present and future events. So what I'm hoping for you to do, we're going to go into a breakout room pretty soon, is that you can identify some of your own protective factors, whether it's your family, neighborhood, that you eat well, that you have a purpose, that you have awesome friends and colleagues. One of the things that I'm going to share that I don't think enough people think about is a sense of belonging. This is particular to us as individuals, as it is to our students. So my little story about belonging really has to do with coming and working at Stockton Unified and being a newcomer here 9 years ago. And my primary job was as the mental health clinician for our TIS program over at Montezuma. But I also ran all over Stockton Unified to 5 or 6 different schools in a day on certain days because I had students that I was providing individual therapy for. And at the end of the day, I had a choice that I could either go to the office over at special education, or I could return to Montezuma, where all the students are and where all the staff are that are in constant kind of need. And for the most part, my selection was to return to Montezuma because that's where I felt that sense of belonging. I could run from campus to campus at Stockton every day, but when I landed at Montezuma, that's where I felt like I needed to be. That's where the kids would see me and be like, hey, Miss Jen. Staff would be like, hey, Miss Jen, you made it today. And this wasn't a day that I'm supposed to be there, but that's where I felt like I belonged. And so that was a very strong protective factor that I will never forget when coming to work for this district, for a new job for me. Actually, I had been with San Joaquin County as a crisis and family and kid clinician for 12.5 years. So coming here and having that has just, it was a gift. So with that being said, think about what are some of the protective factors you can identify for yourself. And I'm going to break us into 10 breakout rooms, 5 people, about 5 people for each room. And so we'll take about 5 or 6 minutes in those breakout rooms. And I hope that you can either identify for yourself, or maybe somebody identifies for themselves a protective factor that you never thought about, but it resonates with you as well. And then maybe if you're comfortable, you will share out whenever we come back to everybody being on the screen again. So I'm going to break us out here. I said 10. Last time I messed up and I made only 5 breakout rooms. So embarrassing. And assign automatically. So hopefully this gets everybody into a breakout room. Like I said, 5 or 6 minutes, and I'll send you a little warning signal before we come back in, okay? So again, what are the protective factors that you can identify for yourself that help you to be resilient and help you to be able to manage change? Hi, Ms. Vickers. Hi, Ms. Katarina. Do you need any help getting into a room? Let me know if you need any help finding the room. Ms. Vickers, do you need help getting into your room? It's always nice when we come back from breakout rooms because there's more faces on the screen for a hot minute. So I always like that. Well, anything that anybody wanted to share out? Anything that anyone learned?
Siobhan, you should share.
I said my best, or I forgot what it's called, but seeing Isola in the hallway and cracking jokes.
Oh, I love it. I love that. That nobody has ever said that one before. So laughter is the best medicine. Thank you. Oh, everybody hasn't been back on yet. So somebody had, thank you everybody for coming in and taking the time. Before everybody got back on, somebody had shared being able to crack jokes. So laughter is just the best medicine, being able to laugh at jokes, cracking jokes. Anyone else have anything that they would like to share out that may be helpful for you that you discovered?
Someone in my group mentioned belonging, feeling like they belong at their school. And that just really a light bulb went off for me, because before coming to Stockton Unified 3 years ago, I was at 2 different charter schools. And I did not feel like I belonged. We all kind of did our own thing because everybody was afraid of everybody else stabbing them in the back.
Wow.
And admin did not have our backs either. I was saying that I used to get anxiety attacks driving to work every day, and was considering a career change after only teaching for 5 years. And it wasn't mainly because the kids, it was because of my admin. I felt attacked almost all the time at work. Everybody was watching their back constantly. So we couldn't form a sense of camaraderie or community because everybody was worried about whether they were going to have a job the next day and who was going to stab them in the back to save their own job.
You know, I have experienced that personally, and I not here at Stockton Unified, but I have experienced it personally in previous settings, and I feel you, and I'm proud of you that you stuck with it and decided to make a change for yourself, because it may not have been the environment that was right, or the culture of that environment. So choosing a new environment, as you know, with so many of our students, once they move from one environment to the next, oftentimes we see changes in them. So I'm really happy for you that you were able to make that change to take care of yourself and be here.
Well, I got lucky. It was a blessing in disguise. All of the middle school teachers at my school were fired.
Oh gosh.
We were scapegoats because HR didn't do their job. So she got fired. Then the principal went in and found out, even though she was supposed to be checking to make sure all this paperwork got filed.
Yeah.
It wasn't filed. So she made all the 7th and 8th grade teachers whose paperwork wasn't filed scapegoats in order to save her job. And she fired all seven of us so she could keep her job. And I ended up here at Stockton Unified at one of the best schools with the best admin. I love it.
Well, then we have everything to be grateful for here, don't we? Wow. So that, yeah, I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for your site and for your students especially. So thank you for that. And I see in the chat, your sentiments are shared with so many people, with most people. So thank you for that. All right. If anybody else has anything they want to share out. All right, then I'll get us moving along here. Okay. So we're going to talk about some stress cues and the fact that those are actually important parts of our lives. There's the stress that we think of that always kind of makes you stressed out in a negative way, but it's actually a really normal reaction to uncertainty or perceived or real harm, right? It's really a big piece of what keeps us safe. So it triggers those internal warning systems, which are normal reactions. And it's a necessary component to our survival. I'm sorry if I have a little bit of break in my voice. I'm very cold. I even have a jacket over my legs to keep me warm. But when I'm cold, I don't function at my best. So I apologize in advance for having a little bit of crack in my voice. So moving on, reframing our relationship with stress, right? A lot of this is about reframing how we associate with parts of our lives or with stress. And we think of some positive components of stress as opposed to that pressure stress, which the pressured is obviously time. We have so much time. Anticipatory stress, which is me anticipating this training today, which I've already done a few times, but for whatever crazy reason, last night I had performance anxiety dreams. I haven't had those for a long time, probably 5 years, which of course they all had to do with being in college back then. And I've been out of college for way longer than 5 years. Anyway, that situational stress, and then that pressure of encountering people that we maybe didn't really always want to run into, or we didn't look our best when we ran into them, but we did want to run into them. So reframing that into the goal-oriented stress, which is necessary and helpful, is, the physical activity that some of us enjoy, or going for a vacation, anticipating a new family member, which I've had two this past couple of years. We have a teeny tiny little family. And so it's been so great. I have two new little grandnieces, and it's just been really exciting and fun. Or a hobby, going for that higher education, and establishing or exploring new relationships, self-improvement, and just that purposeful stress that we have for different achievements that we want for ourselves. So self-care, again, it's intentional, it's a practice. Don't think it has to be perfect all the time. It isn't perfect all the time. And that's why we have different strategies for tackling self-care and wellness. And it's multifaceted. It is not a one size does not fit all. It isn't the same for everybody, but the strategies that you put out there, they're all out there for everyone. And it's really healing, right? So I love this slide because there's so much information on it, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's virtually free, right? There's some time involved, but it's virtually financially free. But the one thing I like to focus a little bit on is that social media piece. I quit social media about 3 years ago, that Facebook. And I have to tell you, I don't have any regrets. And the story I have around that is that I would spend time, I probably post on Facebook once a week or so, and most of it's silly pictures and things like that of my dogs and my family. But I quit it. And then a couple of months later, I was talking to a good friend, and I mean good friend. I lived with her in college. We would have every weekend, one weekend every summer, we would get together with her family and spending time together that way. So I was on the phone with her a couple months after I quit social media, and I asked her, how are your girls? Because I don't see them on social media because I quit Facebook. She said, you did? I didn't know you weren't on there anymore. And right there, that was like, hello, this is my good friend. She doesn't even know whether I'm on there or not. So what I am doing on this social media platform really doesn't matter. So I from there on out, I was like, it really doesn't matter. It isn't that important. So it was an eye opener and a super time saver, because I spend no more time scrolling on Facebook or any other social media platform for anything, because posting my own stuff on there obviously didn't matter that much. And if mine didn't, and I'm not that worried about anybody else's. So not sorry, but anyhow, moving on. So this next video is just fun. Hopefully it'll give you a laugh. I laugh every single time I watch this. This is Paul Rugg, and this is his dog Lucky. And his dog Lucky has crossed over the Rainbow Bridge since this video was made, but Lucky was very, very, very loved. So please don't interpret this as anything other than just playful and fun and something for you to have a laugh at.
Hi, everybody. It's Paul. You know, a lot of people ask me after a long day of voiceover or writing or doing all those creative things that I do, how do I relax? Well, like many other Americans, I come home and I pet my dog. You see, petting your dog is one of the most relaxing things you can possibly do. It releases a hormone called oxytocin, which reduces stress. Also, it lowers your heart rate and it lowers your blood pressure. Plus, people who pet their dogs are 5 times more likely to live longer than people who just have cats. Plus, the dogs like it so much, and it's a nice bonding experience. That's right. Good daddy's little boy. Daddy's little boy. Daddy's little boy. That's right. Okay, we're done.
So thanks, guys. I love that. I am totally,
Hi, everybody.
oops,
It's
I can't,
Paul. You know,
let me leave out of this and hopefully get us onto the next slide. I love cats. I can't have a cat. My doggies don't like cats. But I see in the chat about don't be anti-cat. So I love cats. I can't have them though. All right, let me move us on to the next slide and get this going up there again for you. Well, what's going on here? I'm just going to stop sharing and start that over again. I apologize. Well. All right. So here are a few of my favorites. These are free. They're free. They're online. You just go on there and this is Ask Dr. Joe. And so she's a physical therapist and this is on YouTube, right? So she has exercises and stretches for every level. So this is for even if you are chair bound, if you are not as ambulatory as you would like to be. She has stretches, exercises, and whatnot for every level. And I love her. She's a dog person. Okay, sorry, not sorry. But she is funny as well. She's just very personable. This is on YouTube. I have used her for neck and back pain relief for stretches and whatnot. I'm not quite a yoga person. It actually makes me more in pain than not to do yoga. But for stretching and whatnot, I highly encourage stretching all the time. And she has great stretches for whatever ails you, hip, shoulder, knee pain, whatnot. She's fantastic. And then this is Kelly and David or Daniel. I can't remember, but I watch them all the time. And this is fitnessblender.com. Again, free, YouTube, every skill level from beginner to your HIIT workouts. They do everything and they are just normal people. So, and I mean, not intimidating. So and a lot of times I can't do push-ups. I have this shoulder issue. I can't do the planks and things like that. So everything that you do, like I said, it's a practice. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can modify what you're doing with these exercises and interventions for physical health. And then of course, there's my dogs. And they were virtually free too, because of course, the black and white one, she's Gummy. She came from Edison High School. My husband dragged her home. There's a story behind that. And then Percy, my persimmon, he is from Montezuma. I dragged him home. And then Clementine is from the Pound, and we both dragged her home. So those are a huge part of my life. I walk these guys and play with them. And this is what I come home to every day first, and then my husband. So these are huge. These have big wellness factors for me. And like I said, well, dogs aren't necessarily really free, but you get the point, I hope. So self-care self-care, monitoring those emotional and physical needs, paying attention and managing your needs, identifying what you can or cannot control. We cannot always control everything, like feeling tired because I had anxiety dreams last night about performing and thinking I wasn't going to have time to get to the changes I wanted to make that I was thinking about all weekend today. So things that we can't control have been isolation, right? We've had a lot of situations over the past year where we cannot get to the activities that we want to get to. So whether it's because of our own needs or somebody else's needs, we've been pretty darn isolated. And then there's that feeling keyed up. There's the time when you just cannot kind of bring it down. And that's where that being able to be mindful and stop and think to calm ourselves down. And I'm going to go back a little bit to the physical pain and symptoms. I didn't talk about that enough or at all. And a lot of times people think that a pill fixes that physical pain. And for some situations, probably for many, that's very true. But for the pain in your back or in your neck, lower, upper, whatever, a lot of times this has to do more with physical activity. If you can build that in, to relieve the stress and the tension that our muscles hold on to for us from our brain. And so a pill doesn't fix what's going on there in terms of what's going on in our brain, but that physical activity can actually relieve that physical tension, and it helps to relieve what's going on in the brain because you are being mindful and thoughtful about what you are doing for and with your body. So just think about that in terms of how medication or how stretching and being physical can actually be indicative of what our body needs. And then I'm going to go into this a little bit more later, but self-care is really knowing when and how to seek that support. So when you're feeling like you have a loss of focus and feeling vulnerable, feeling like you're out of ideas, it's really a good time to get some help. Hopefully where you're at, maybe you have a culture of checking in, maybe you have a spiritual leader, a community leader, or somebody that you can talk to. If not, it's really a good idea to think about finding a therapist. And I want to tell you, when most people start therapy, it is whenever they are in a crisis or at a breaking point. And as some people may have recognized, just like right now, it's like really hard to get in to see a therapist. There are either wait lists or people are not taking new clients. And I can tell you from personal experience, in the beginning of the year, I saw a therapist because I didn't want to get into the crisis point, right? So this was preventing crisis. And fortunately, I only needed to see him a couple of times. I was able to get myself back together, never went into a crisis or a breaking point, and I'm fine now. Even after dealing with the last couple of months of stressors and whatnot, I'm fine. But it's all about getting in there before you're in crisis, because just knowing that you have an appointment waiting for you is actually anxiety and stress relieving. If you're needing it and you're in a crisis and you're not able to get that appointment because so many therapists are booked up, that's even more stressful and even more hard to manage and deal with. So just have that in the back of your mind for when you do start to feel like, oh, I don't know if I can manage this. And so we know that the fear of a loss of a job for some people, oh my gosh, if anybody finds out, feeling like I'm a failure, feeling like there's going to be a loss of respect. A lot of people just are not good at asking for help. That's okay. Your therapist doesn't care. Your therapist wants to help you. That's what we do. That's what we do. I don't even know how else to say it. And then for a lot of people, their job isn't just a job, it's their identity. And so they feel like, if I can't do this, then what am I doing? And sometimes things aren't working out the way that we planned on them to work out, and we need a little bit of extra help, and that is totally okay. So these are just some quick tips. And like I said, this is very flexible. This is a practice. Don't be rigid with yourself about that 10 minutes or that 30 minutes. You know, that social connectedness about calling somebody you've been thinking about. Sometimes it isn't about a phone call. Maybe it's writing a letter. Maybe it's writing a snail mail card. I know that is a lost art, but who doesn't like to get a cute little card in the mail from somebody knowing that they were thinking about them? Sometimes you have to start that process to start receiving that process. So 10 minutes out of your day to write a little card or to call somebody. I have a coworker who recently retired and she doesn't do text messaging. She literally calls, and I'm like, I don't want to miss her call. So if I'm in the store, I'll answer and I'll say, I'll call you right back whenever I get out of the store, and taking that time. Of course, the obvious, the exercise, the nutrition, and sleep. I kind of go on a little bit about sleep, that sleep hygiene. It is really the easiest and the hardest habit to break. And what I mean by the easiest, I mean the easiest bad habit. We get so used to watching TV, scrolling on our phones or whatever it is before bed. It keeps us up, it keeps our minds wandering, but it's the sleep hygiene is so important to your well-being. You know this from watching your students. I mean, microphone drop right there. You know from seeing how your students are sleepy because they haven't gotten enough sleep. They've been on that darn phone all night long, or they've been on the game all night long, and knowing how it interrupts their development overall. It also interrupts our ability to refresh ourselves. So try to think about getting to bed and using the bedroom for sleeping and for romance, and cutting it off there. I mean, if you have a bathroom attached, of course, that's the bathroom attached to the bedroom, but the bedroom is for sleep and for romance. So that sleep hygiene, I just can't harp on about it enough. And then, of course, we're going to go into practicing that mindfulness. And I don't go on about meditation. Mindfulness and meditation are very different things. Mindfulness is built out of meditation, but mindfulness is much easier to grasp. It's much easier to do in a moment's notice when you need it. So I'm gonna talk more about that. So be flexible, embrace flexibility and compassion for yourself, reframe your assumptions about yourself and about other people. Again, that warmth at which we accept ourselves helps us to be able to accept others and be more compassionate. Excuse me. A wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So just knowing this, I was kind of mind blown. People spend nearly 47% of their waking hours with their minds wandering wherever. So what's wrong with that, right? Well, sadly, most wandering minds are unfocused, or they're focusing on negativity, like catastrophizing. So it's really easy to lose sight of goals when our minds are not focused on what it is that we should or want to be doing. And what is the cost of negativity? Well, as you can see, it results in that reduced confidence for ourselves, impaired social functioning, not able to relate to people as well. That again, that ongoing catastrophizing, which can result in symptoms of anxiety, thought disorders, a compromised psychological state. So that means that whenever we come into a situation that we weren't expecting, we just aren't able to deal with it, and we kind of go into meltdown mode. So that cost of negativity really hinders us not only mindfully, but socially and physically. So then we talk about cognitive reframing. Cognitive reframing is being able to take negative thoughts or negative assumptions and changing them into something more positive or something more palatable that we can use to get through the day. So negative thoughts are, there's not enough time in the day. I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for being so technological as a therapist. I'm a talker, right? Neither did you as a teacher. You're a hands-on, in person with tons of students every single day. So, and then the question about what did the previous teacher do? You know, there's a lot of kids that come into different classes. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. There's a lot of teachers that go into the classes and the kids come in from the year before and they don't know how to read. And then I'm just tired of new programs. Well, I can feel you there. Our program is only 3 years in the making for this department, and there has been a lot of learning and teaching here. So if we look at it, we can really think, well, what is today's priority? What do I have to get through today? What is on the timeline for today? Because everything else can wait till tomorrow. I didn't sign up for this. Well, the fact of the matter is that usually I can figure this out. It may be something that I didn't really want to do, but my mantra lately has been, well, whatever it is, I'm going to grow more gray matter, more brain cells up here. And so that's been the way that I reframe a lot of stuff. And then what did the previous teacher do? Well, we don't have control over that, but we do have control over what we can do and getting the kid back on track. And then again, I'm tired of those new programs, but being up for a challenge. I'm up for a challenge to learn something new. So going to that, getting the kid on track, I do have a personal story. You know, I've worked in situations where I follow students from one year to the next as the therapist, right? On the IEP or even through school-based services. And that particular student may not have had the best environment or ability to learn how to read in the previous classroom for whatever was holding them back. And a lot of times it has to do with behavioral issues. Let's just be honest. Well, I had worked with a teacher who had a lot of students come into her class that really hadn't learned how to read. And I can tell you that every time that happened, she would get that kid on track and she would teach that kid how to read. It was just magnificent. There was just this skill that she had with every single kid, with whatever it was they needed. She could teach them how to read a sentence. And it was, it struck me, as you can tell. So I really feel like there's a way to reframe a lot of information that is going on and that we are struggling with. So that's where it brings us to focusing on our locus of control. We have that external locus of control that a lot of our students are responding to. So blaming others, being insecure, to the internal locus of control. So we are able to develop thoughtful responses. We can be self-motivated, advocating for ourselves, being accountable for ourselves, which is what we want our students to do. We want the people around us to do, and to be able to be confident. So again, mindfulness is about setting some time aside, whether it's that 1 minute for the color breathing, for the belly breathing, or whether it's 5 minutes to 10 minutes, whatever you have available in the day, and observing the present moment as it is. It's being able to pay attention to the present moment without judgment. So a lot of times we think that mindfulness means that we just have to kind of be clear-minded in the whole process of practicing a mindful moment. Well, that's not correct. The truth is that when you notice that there is information flushing into your brain that isn't supposed to be there, then you're being mindful because you're paying attention to it, and then you can shut it down. That's what it's about. Not judging that you have stuff going on, but knowing how to be able to shut that down. That's when you're being mindful. So that wandering mind, it's just a part of what is being human. It's a part of practicing mindfulness, but being able to recognize that and bring yourself back is all a part of that practice. So there's tons of evidence backing the use of mindfulness practices. And whether you believe it or not, it really does help us to increase that concentration, which I've talked about because I'm that distracted person. Increased cortical thickness. Who doesn't want a stronger brain? Reducing symptoms of depression, increasing our cognitive control, and increasing our emotional regulation skills. Thus, having reduced symptoms of anxiety, being able to respond to people more wisely in a way that we want to be responding or a way that we want to be responded to, having that increased empathy and that deeper understanding of others. It's just so basic, but it isn't always that easy to have that ability. So these are some tools for anytime use. And, you know, again, this can be used for you. This can be used for students. This is something that you can have the visual in front of you, or maybe you have it just in the back of your head, like I have the bubble breathing in the back of my head. So grounding is about being able to just be where you're at, be in the now, in the present. So we can't do all of these just maybe sitting where I'm in a classroom, as you can probably see with the chairs behind me. So there aren't a lot of things that I'm going to hear or smell in here, but I can think about 5 things that I can see. So go ahead and take a moment and look around wherever you're at. If you're at home or if you are in your classroom, look around your room and just mentally note 5 things that you can see. And you may think about the color of those things. You might think of the shape of those things, possibly the texture, whether that brings you joy and maybe you want to get rid of that thing or rearrange it. So 5 things that you can see. And then afterwards, we're just going to take a mindful breath. So we're going to breathe in through our nose, into your belly, and hold it there for a second. And exhale through your mouth. And then we can take a mindful breath, and you can count to 4 with your fingers as you inhale that breath. So we can inhale through our nose and with our fingers. And exhale with your fingers, count to 4. Let's try that one more time. With your fingers, count to 4 as you inhale. And exhale. So you might have to be careful with your fingers at times, but you get the point. So, and then another fun thing that I think might be particularly fun for kids is, what's the weather pattern feel like in your body today, right? And again, this is like those feeling charts, but this can change throughout the day. And you may wake up with rainbows and clouds and sunshine, and you may feel a little bit cloudy a little bit later. But this can change throughout the day. So being aware of how your body is feeling. And this is a piece from a book from Dr. Christopher Willard, who is a professional in mindfulness. And he's actually out of Harvard. So he has the same degree as me, but I did not go to Harvard. I went to the Bay Area. Anyhow, but this is also something you can do for yourself. You can do with students. And this is making a kind wish. And this is, again, practicing that conscientiousness and empathy for yourself and empathy for others. So it's about taking your wishes and putting them out there in the world, right? So for you, let's go ahead and make a kind wish for the world. So again, it's taking that deep breath in and thinking about a kind wish for the world. So we're going to inhale and make a wish. And exhale and send that wish out to the world. So hopefully there are so many kind, good wishes out there, it just becomes contagious. And tomorrow we wake up and all the things we wish for are present. And again, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of these, depending on the time that you want to take or the time that you have to take. So be able to engage in that moment and be able to bring your thoughts back to the present task and be able to stay on target of that present goal, right? So it may not be happening the way we want it, but we can bring ourselves back to it and we can get back on target. I love this quote because teachers, anything you're willing to do for a student, you should be willing to do for yourself. You may have seen this before, but I know too well how much teachers do for their students. And how much they scramble to figure out what to do for themselves. And anything you're willing to do for a student, I do agree you should be able to do for yourself. So this is another self-care menu. And again, don't think this is a prescription that has to be stuck to rigidly. This is about what works for you. So taking that few deep breaths, being able to stretch your body, which always feels good, whatever you can do. And reading a chapter of a book or journaling your thoughts. I love journaling. There's also like so much therapeutic intervention that comes with journaling. I'll tell you about it someday if you ever ask me. And taking a walk outside, being able to ground yourself just with the earth, right? Getting crafty, cook a new recipe, but don't stick to this 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes. What works for you? Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 2 minutes. Don't be rigid with yourself. And I think that's where people get lost, is they're too rigid with the time that is suggested rather than being flexible with what works for you. So you can be committed and take time off. You can be a good leader and you can delegate tasks. You can be consistent and have an occasional bad day or a few bad days. You can be a problem solver and ask for help, and you can work hard without overworking yourself. Remember that. So I'm going to send you off with a practice challenge, and that is thinking about possibly embracing a new self-care technique for yourself this week, and to practice being in the moment without judgment of yourself. Just one new technique, and practicing being in the moment without judgment. This isn't an all day, everyday thing. This is a intervention that you do for yourself on a daily, on an every other day, because you deserve it, because you need it. And you can read, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. And then I have lots of resources in here, the information where I gathered my information from. And then the links are here, but I know that you're not going to be able to click on those to share them or to get to them. So I'm going to have to share them with you. So let me go ahead and stop sharing here. All right, any questions or comments while I go get those links for you? So the first I'm sending to you is the attendance link. Yes, there is a link in the slides as well for session 2. So, and I will be sending those, I will be putting this in the PDF in the chat as well. And then here is the session 2 feedback link. All right, please let me know that you see both of the links in there and that you were able to get to them. What I've learned again from the past sessions is that sometimes people can't get to the links unless they are in Google Chrome. Sometimes the links are not easy to get to, and so you may have to cut and paste them somewhere else if that's a problem for you. But I'm going to go ahead and upload the PDF in here for you as well. Oops, let me see. Bear with me, you guys. I will get this in here for you. No, it's not. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. I'm sorry. All right. All right. There. Okay, it's loading. Thank you, everybody, for being patient with me. All right, I hope you can see that the PDF is also in the chat. All right, thank you, everybody. Please fill out all of the surveys. Like I said, I really do take your information, and I really do try to make this work for people in next sessions and whatnot. So I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate what you do. Thank you very, very much. And I will stay on. Sometimes people have questions after everybody else has logged off. So I will stay on if there's any questions or any information that you're looking for. I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, I know that you're heading for lunch as well. So have a great lunch and have a great rest of your day. Thank you for all the nice comments. They make me feel good. Thank you very much. Oh, let me see. All right, let me make sure I get the links in there again. Bye, Miss Boyle. Thank you. I'll see you around tomorrow, probably. Miss Davenport, do you need any help with anything?
I'm sorry. No, I just finished and thank you. It was a great session.
Okay, thank you. I just don't want to leave anybody, if you were having any problem, I just want to make sure you get everything you need. So
Nope,
thank
I
you.
got it. Yeah, thanks so
Okay.
much. Have a
You
great
have
day.
a great rest of the day. Okay, thank
You-
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.